It is Indiana in the morning. It's WCCS 101.1 FM, AM 1160, WCCSradio.com on a Thursday morning. Hey, maybe you've heard about it. There's a little enterprise going on down in Homer City Way. It's called Homer City Redevelopment. And today we meet the CEO, Corey Hessen, who's here with Robin Gorman. We're very familiar, of course, with Robin for years. Our visit this morning presented by Marcus and Mack, voted best law firm and best personal injury lawyer 3 years in a row in the Best of Indiana County contest. Visit them online at marcusandmack.com. Good morning, folks.
Good morning.
Good morning.
It's good to have you both with us here today. Corey, new to Indiana, living here in Indiana and getting used to the environment around here. It's such a nice small town, isn't it? It's a great feel.
Yeah, it's awesome. I grew up in a small town in north central Wisconsin, so doesn't feel too terribly different than where I grew up. It's just been a few years since I lived there. Lived in a lot of big cities since then, so it's a nice sort of closing of the loop as it is.
And now you come here to Indiana County. Robin, of course, former Indiana County Commissioner, and a lot of despair around the area when the Homer City power plant closed down, and wondering what can we do? How does the county recover as a whole? And then in April comes this announcement, and I recall very vividly getting the releases as they were coming in as we were on the air and trying to digest them all at once, because the news, it wasn't just a bit of news. It was continuing news that particular morning, and it just kept coming at us in waves, and the excitement began to build all around Indiana County. You could almost feel it through the studio windows. Homer City Redevelopment would be formed and would transform, really, the entire Indiana County economic picture. Let's talk a little bit about how it was that the decision was made to use that particular site for that particular purpose.
Well, as you know, there's an enormous increase in demand for supercomputing or data centers across the country. And in order to meet that demand, you need a lot of power. And power development and power plants are not easy to build. They're quite complicated. And so the easiest and the fastest way to reach those goals is to use an existing site. Now, an existing site has, like all of us, positives and negatives, but the positives outweigh the negatives. And so by using the existing site, all the infrastructure, all the substations and underground wiring that exists and can be reused, and then you add on top of that the community that exists here and the community of knowledgeable, hardworking folks who can be part of the story going forward and support new power plant and the new industry coming to this area.
There's a geographic element to it as well, isn't there?
Absolutely. In Western Pennsylvania, we have access to a tremendous amount of local natural gas, which is going to be how the power plant is creating electricity. So that's super important for us and for the long-term viability of the facility, because any of your input costs, you want to make sure that you have lots of access to that over time.
Yeah. And of course, we kept hearing in the months ahead of the announcement about how Northern Virginia and that area was going to be really, really explosive or expansive in terms of data centers and what the needs would be and how would that energy demand ever be met. And so this area is a natural for that and for really the entire region stretching all the way up north.
Yeah, absolutely. Pennsylvania is actually the energy workhorse for this part of the country. If you were to look at a map and where most of the energy generation centers are that serve the Northeast corridor here in the U.S., they actually are located here in Pennsylvania. So we have all the skills and all the infrastructure, all the right people to really make that go.
Yeah. Robin Gorman, let's talk a little bit about, from the local perspective, from the county perspective, as this began to become a reality, and you were in the position of county commissioner at the time, and little by little, the information would come to you, and you saw the potential for something like this for Indiana County. I know that you were excited.
So am I beaming? First of all, I have waited for this moment, right? I envisioned this moment in bringing our new CEO and introducing him to the county. So it is fantastic to have Corey on board. And as I've said, no pun intended, but this project has given not just me, but this entire community and region new energy. We did for a long time, right? It was about what do we replace losing industries that we were losing to other places? How do we grow our economy? And this is just phenomenal to have this opportunity. And of course, I said, why not here? Of course, here. So what you said, heard Corey say, all the right assets in place. Truly, there's no other place in this nation that I can think of that has all those things in one place as to why not here. You are absolutely correct, Todd. So I can remember the commissioners knew two things. They were paying their taxes, so they weren't going away, and they were trying to figure out what would be the future and could they repurpose that plant for something new. So to be asked, number one, to come on board was just fascinating. And I am truly enjoying every minute of it because by nature, you know I'm a learner. So I am learning something new every day, literally. And, you know, we started with, in March, the felling of the stacks. That was pretty hard and emotional as well as, you know, exciting for our community. And we got through that. And you get through the next step, right? And you hear the announcement April 2nd. You start working with our EPC on, you know, a contract labor agreement, and you start to say, this is really happening. And it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, yeah, my goodness. And Corey, of course, now in today's society, of course, we expect it to be an instantaneous society. It's not like you're bringing in Legos and building this thing up, snapping the pieces together, and there it's done. There's still an awful lot of work to be done, but that work is already underway, and it really, the speed with which this stuff happens is, you know, from your perspective, I'm sure, certainly from ours, it really is amazing.
Yeah, it's absolutely amazing. I think that, you know, we're still in the demolition phase. You know, we just felled the towers not too long ago, so there's lots of stuff to take up and haul away. So we'll finish the demo, and then we'll have around 4 years of construction at the site where there'll be all kinds of activities happening every single day. And, you know, as somebody who's been doing this for, you know, geez, I'm aging myself, 30 years, it seems like it flies right by. And then when you're in the middle of it, each day presents all kinds of new opportunities and new challenges.
When you think back on your career, and young Corey Hessen, just getting started in the business, I'm sure you couldn't have envisioned something like this. But as these steps begin to unfold before us and we see them happen, the timeline is going to be really, really interesting. And folks are going to see changes around Indiana County that you know, we've never really envisioned for what this place will look like in 5 or 10 years.
Yeah, I think that's right. I think anytime you go through a transformation, you think you know what's going to happen, and then you find out over time that you don't. And so the infrastructure that's going to be required, you know, we'll need more restaurants and more hotels and all the things that will be required to support, you know, at a peak, 3,000 craft labor workers on the site. That's a lot of traffic too. So, you know, we got to be prepared. We're working closely with all of our safety and EMS personnel to make sure that we handle that as safely and as effectively as possible. But it'll be a big change because there'll be a massive influx of people going to one small place every single day.
Yeah, people are going to be so hungry for information about it. What's the next step? What happens next? Who is going to be required to come and to work on this segment of the construction? When does this get running or that get running? And I'm sure you have a plan in place to keep everybody informed, yes?
Yeah. So the next step is on the 16th of this month. We are having our first open house. That'll be open to the public. I'll be hosting along with Robin and some other members of our construction team, and also our team members that are sort of also participating with us in the process. And so that'll be the first step in, you know, making sure there are open lines of communication between the site and folks around the community, knowing what's going on, what the schedule is, what to expect, you know, with each stage of the process as we go through things for the next 4.5 years together.
Yeah. We look at the project itself and we see what's going to be happening on that campus, on that site. But there's a lot of other things that have to happen. And we think of the gas pipeline is going to come and is going to feed the plant, the various infrastructure needs that stretch far beyond this region, frankly. There's going to be activity going on in other counties that will affect here.
Yeah, absolutely. When I think about Homer City redevelopment, it's really three big projects. And so I'm letting the cat out of the bag for our open house coming up. But it's three large projects. We are going to build a power block, so replacing the old power plant. The old coal-fired power plant is going to be replaced with a natural gas-fired power plant. We have to have we're building two natural gas pipelines from different locations in the state to bring the gas into our site. So that's an enormous project in and of itself. And then we'll have guests come onto the site, customers who will be data center customers, and they're going to build their own facilities on that site, which will use the electricity that we generate.
We know that it's an enormous plot of ground. Do you have enough just yet?
Well, if you ask us, we have enough ground for our the replacement of the power block, but our customers have enormous demands, and so we're always looking for creative ways to meet those demands. We need to. They have very specific physical and mechanical needs that we're trying to meet, and I think over time, that will change. And one would say you have 3,200 acres. That sounds like a lot. When you speak to data center customers, their answer is always, "Is that the most you can give me?"
Which really is amazing. Robin, you talk about changing the face of Indiana County. This changes the whole footprint.
It really does, and in such a large, what I would call mega way. And so you heard Corey talk about three projects in one, and truly it's a mega site. And like you always say, Todd, and you have such a good way, right? There's so much complexities and so much behind the scenes that nobody ever sees, right? Mm-hmm. And I have likened it, although very, very micro, to when I was a commissioner, and we would talk about millions of dollars being invested in infrastructure for broadband. And then people would call us because they would hear that, and because they were excited, which was wonderful, but they'd look out their window, see a pole, and think that the connection was the next day. And so, right, they would say, "Will I be lit up tomorrow?" Mm-hmm. And you just sort of have to manage expectations and ask for a lot of patience for understanding that these are complex, timely, safe. Safety is always in our forefront, and security, in order for us to move at the pace we need to get these things to next fruition. Just like decommissioning, you have to get it off. Yeah. You have to reclimate. You have to make sure it's ready for new construction, and that takes time and patience.
Yeah, it would be good if we could use Legos for this, but evidently those aren't exactly the proper building materials for a facility such as this. Well, with what Robin says, Corey, with meeting you and hearing what you have said this morning as well, it makes that first meeting on July 16th. Again, it's at the KCAC. Which is hosting on behalf of the Homer Center School District. They've got some construction going on at Homer Center, so normally this would have been scheduled there. Yep. But July 16th at the KCAC, and then moving forward, any other announcements, we'll be happy to be sure that that happens. And Corey, you're invited back anytime. Robin as well. Anybody else having to do with any other thing with Homer City redevelopment? We look forward to this. It's going to be eye-opening. It's going to be amazing for Indiana County, and we look forward to it. It's going to be great.
Thank you. We're super happy to be here.
It is the voice of Indiana County. It's WCCS 101.1 FM, AM 1160, WCCSradio.com. 8:26 on your Thursday morning, Thursday, 3rd of July. Boomer Sports next. And then Matt is with us from the WCCS Newsroom.